It's the live coverage of the U.S. presidential election here on Channels Television. And welcome back to the Lagos studio.
Yes, welcome back to the Lagos studio, but we're going to take you to Lagos Island now, where Amarachi Ubani and Chamberlain Uso are standing by to interview the Public Affairs Officer of the U.S. Consulate, Darcy Zota.
Occupying the line so they can't reach them.
They tell you that it's going to be a long night and that they do have a lot set up here. But we've got Darcy Zota, who is the Public Affairs Officer of U.S. Consulate, here with us to talk us through at least some preliminary things of what we expect here tonight. Thank you for joining us in our studios today.
Thank you, and I really want to thank you for coming out tonight. I recognize that it's past midnight, and I wondered, what did you two do to deserve this late night spot? But we're really pleased you could come. Really, really pleased. Thank you.
Nigerians are awake tonight, waiting for the election results. So what can we expect in the hall tonight?
In our election night event, what we did was we set up different stations so that there's various activities at each station. So for instance, one of them is watching movies, another is singing karaoke, another is having your picture taken, and another one, which we're doing, is actually doing mini talks about different elements of the election. So some of it, we're not going to go into too much detail, but there will be talks about, say, for instance, the Electoral College or the campaigns.
Tell us then, one of the questions that lots of people keep asking is, those Americans who are not in the country at the moment, like yourself, how are they able to vote?
Ask that because we actually have a system for absentee balloting. And what was interesting for me today is that Nigerian Americans were coming to the consulate as late as today and still able to vote. And so the rules there vary state to state, but if it was postmarked by today, it's highly likely that that state will count that vote.
But will the votes tonight, will they also impact on the elections as the results are being collated in the U.S.?
I would think so. Why do I think so? Okay, for instance, in 2000, the election actually came down to around 550 votes. I can't remember the exact number. But in there, one of the key factors was, in fact, the absentee balloting.
So that means that mail votes, mail-ordered votes, the ones that come from outside of the United States, do affect electoral results at the end of the day. But could they also affect who becomes president, perhaps?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, using the example of what happened in Florida, that was the pivotal state, and it determined the outcome of the election. And so, given the large number of people in Florida who actually voted absentee ballots, absolutely.
I see you've got the donkey and the elephant.
I do. Thank you for noticing.
And I think you also voted, right?
I did.
Would you like to tell us who you voted for?
I can't, because work for the federal government, and so the Department of State is actually a nonpartisan department. And our job is to support whatever administration is in office. So whether it's Hillary Clinton or it's Donald Trump, tomorrow I'll be talking about their policies.
A lot of non-Americans are curious about the American elections, and they say, why do Americans vote on a Tuesday?
Okay, I actually know the answer to that, and this is one of the reasons I really like doing interviews, because I have to research it. So the reason why they do that is because the United States was traditionally an agrarian society, and it was also quite a religious society. So people on Sunday would go to church, Monday they would have to travel to the polling place, and on Tuesday they would vote. And that's why. And it started in 1846.
Wow, that's a long time.
But America is no longer an agrarian society.
It isn't, but nobody has really challenged it. It's gone on.
Yeah. To stay.
Yes.
But One of the other issues that raises a lot of concern is not so much of a concern, but those who watch from outside keep asking, why is it that the president is not elected via direct vote of the people? It's got to be through the Electoral College.
So that was an idea, and I can't remember the exact year, but it was in the 1700s. But it was after the Constitution, and at that time, it was actually James Madison. What they wanted to do was that they wanted to ensure that some of those states that had smaller populations at that time, for instance, Rhode Island, that they still had a voice. And so that was one of the reasons why they established Electoral College, which is actually based on your representation in Congress.
So at the end of the day, when the elections are called, there'll be other concerns now. But for us here, it has to be about Nigeria-US relations. What could likely happen depending on who wins?
And this is why I'm really glad you invited me here. Because one of the things that I had the opportunity to do was in October, I was back in Washington, met with my assistant secretary, and what she was able to assure us is that U.S.-Nigerian relations enjoy strong bipartisan support. And she actually pointed out some of the activities that we have going. For instance, the Young African Leadership Initiative. We have PEPFAR. We have AGOA. We have Power Africa. With Nigeria in particular, we have quite a bit of trade. We also work together on security issues. And she is quite confident that those will continue. Again, because the important thing here, it has bipartisan support. So regardless whether the Democrats or the Republicans control it, it will continue.
I think you need to clear the air on immigration, because a lot of people are concerned that when a new U.S. president comes in, visa policies will change and immigration policies could change, especially towards Nigerians who love to go to the United States. So what could change with the new president?
When it comes to immigration policy, that in fact is under the purview of the legislative branch. So although a president can sort of tweak around the edges of it, and we've seen President Obama do that, and actually to change the policy would actually require a change in the laws. And that's not an easy process. And in the United States, one of the things that is really important is our institutions. And so even though, I don't want to make light of the president, obviously they're important, but presidents come and presidents go. It's the institutions, it's the legislative process. But along those lines, I just want to point out that last year we had a 19% increase in the number of Nigerians studying in the United States. So we're hoping that that trend continues. I just want to put that out there. We're going to continue having strong relations, and we're really hoping that qualified students are still going to want to go to the U.S.
All right, we'll have to anchor at that point. We know you have a lot to catch up to, and it's going to be a long line, really, as we've said. But we'll thank you for
Thank you. And as you can see, I really like talking about the election, so I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was Darcy Zota, the Public Affairs Officer, U.S. Consulate. Well, back to you now, Charles and Tokwe.
Well, thank you, Marachi and Chamberlain, and welcome back. Well, there were some key points Darcy Zota raised in that interview with Chamberlain and Marachi, and part of it is the fact that she talked about hoping that the trend of strong relations between Nigeria and the U.S. will continue, and you'll have more students from Nigeria wanting and actually going over to study in the United States, and the fact that that trend has witnessed an increase, about a 19% increase in recent times. But the misgivings I am having is that, with Mr. Trump's rhetoric about not having that kind of open door policy, I wonder where that exactly would go.
But you know, sometimes I wonder if Donald Trump, if he becomes president, I wonder if he's actually going to have the power to take all those actions that he talked about. Because the fact that he is the president of the United States doesn't automatically give him the powers to deport people, to throw people in jail, because he needs to go through Congress. And I doubt if everybody in Congress is going to agree, you know, and then pass, you know, whatever he wants to do. So I think it's going to be quite difficult for him to start deporting people and building walls if he does become president.
Well, the good thing about politics is that you have to whip up sentiment in order to attract votes, and probably
I think he did that very well.
Oh yeah, he did carry that on very, very well indeed. We'll take a moment now, and when we will return, hopefully we will be hearing from the United States Consul General in Nigeria, Mr. John Bray. We'll be right back.